Welcome back, my dear nighttime wanderer. My name is Silas, and I'm your storyteller here at Slumberlight Tales. I'm very glad that you found your way here tonight to this quiet corner of the evening where time loosens its grip. The world grows softer at the edges, and the only thing left for you to do is rest. Before we begin, take a moment to arrive where you are. Feel the surface beneath your body, the gentle weight of blankets, the way your head is cradled by your pillow. Take a slow breath in through the nose and a long, unhurried breath out through the mouth. Tonight, our story begins quickly, like a page turning itself, and it carries you forward, step by step, across winter water, and into a Christmas market that should not exist on any map. So when you're ready, let the room around you soften, and listen. Our story begins on Christmas Eve. Not the loud, sparkling version you see in shop windows, but the late, quiet Christmas Eve, when the streets have finally exhaled and the world is dimmer, kinder, and slow. You're at home. A lamp glows low beside you, honey-colored and steady. Somewhere in the distance, outside your walls, a last car passes on wet pavement, and then even that sound fades, swallowed by the soft, patient hush of night. You had planned to sleep early, or at least you had meant to stop thinking, but your mind has been turning over the day, like a hand turning a small stone. So you do what you always do when the day clings too tightly. You reach for a book. It's an old one, older than it has any right to be. The cover is dark, worn smooth at the corners, and when you lift it, it has that satisfying weight: paper, cloth, and time. As you open it, the spine gives a soft creak, like a door in a quiet house. A small breath of scent rises from the pages, not musty, not unpleasant, but warm and layered. Dried pine needles, a hint of smoke, and something sweet underneath, like sugared almonds left in a paper bag. You blink, surprised. Books don't usually smell like Christmas. And so you settle back, the blankets shift, your shoulders lower a fraction, and you begin to read. The words are simple, gentle. They don't rush, they don't demand. They simply open like lantern light in fog. And on the very first page, you find a line that makes you pause. On Christmas Eve, the sea becomes a road, if you know where to stand. Your eyes track the sentence again. Your fingertips rest against the paper. It feels slightly warm, as if it has been held recently. You turn the page. The next paragraph describes a wooden dock, half hidden behind a row of sleeping buildings. It mentions the smell of brine and spruce. It mentions lanterns swinging low, and a ferry that arrives without bells or whistles, only a deep, contented hum, like a cat purring in the dark. As you read, you notice something strange. The air in your room changes just a little. The candle smell fades, replaced by something cooler. Salt, wet wood, and winter wind. You lift your gaze from the page. The lamp beside you is still glowing. The room is still there, but the silence has deepened. You look down again. The line you're reading now says, "If you are holding this book, you are already halfway there." A tiny thrill moves through you, not sharp, not anxious, just a flicker of curiosity, like noticing a hidden door in a familiar hallway. You turn the page, and the page keeps going. Not the words, those are still printed, neat and calm, but the margin, the pale paper at the edge, seems to lengthen, stretching outward into brightness that isn't lamplight. A cold glow, moonlight. Your breath catches softly. You blink once, then twice. The scent of salt grows stronger. You hear water, quiet waves against wood, and the distant, delicate clink of something metal, like a chain shifting. The book is still in your hands, but your chair is no longer beneath you. Without any jolt, without any falling sensation, you find yourself standing. Cool air brushes your cheeks. It smells of sea spray and pine sap. Your feet are on wooden planks, damp, worn smooth. A dock. You look down. In your hands, the book lies open, its pages fluttering gently in the wind, as if it, too, has been waiting to arrive. Ahead, lanterns glow, and out of the fog, a fairy drifts closer. The fairy is old, but cared for. Its sides are painted a deep, quiet green, and the paint is scuffed at the edges in a way that speaks of many gentle landings. Lanterns hang along the railing, their light soft and amber, casting warm pools that fade into mist. The air tastes faintly of salt on your lips, and beneath it is another scent: tarred rope, fresh cut wood, and the comforting smoke of a distant fire. As the fairy glides in, it makes almost no sound, only a low, steady vibration you feel through the dock and up into your bones, like a lullaby played through the floor. A figure stands at the front, one hand resting on the rail. He is tall and bundled in a thick coat, the color of midnight. A scarf wraps his neck in soft layers, and his hat sits low, shadowing his brow. When the fairy nudges against the dock, he lifts a lantern slightly, and the light shows his face, kind-eyed, lying gently at the corners, with an expression that says, "Yes, you've come. Of course you have." "Evening," he says, voice low and calm, roughened just a little by sea air. "Christmas Eve's a good night for reading." You glance down at the book as if to make sure, then back up at him. He smiles, not teasing, simply knowing. "Most people use doors," he adds, as if commenting on the weather. "But books work fine. They're reliable vessels. They carry you exactly as far as you're ready to go." A thin rope is tossed lightly. It lands with a soft thud on the dock. The ferryman loops it around a post, unhurried, as though there is all the time in the world. You can leave the book, he says, or bring it. It's yours either way. But I'll tell you something true. Stories like to watch what happens next. You step forward. The planks beneath your feet are damp but steady. Your breath clouds in front of you, then dissolves in the lantern glow. As you step onto the ferry, warmth meets you at once. Not hot, just a gentle easing of the cold, as if the air here is softened by kindness. The deck smells faintly of beeswax and pine. Somewhere below, an engine hums, not a mechanical roar, but a deep, comforting thrum, like a sleeping animal breathing. You look around, and you are not alone. A few passengers sit quietly on benches, wrapped in blankets. A woman with silver hair is knitting something that glimmers as though each stitch catches starlight. A small, fox-like creature in a neat coat holds a sheet of music and hums without sound, its tail curled politely around its feet. Near the stern, two tiny figures, no taller than a loaf of bread, sleep under a scarf, their breaths puffing little clouds that sparkle briefly before fading. No one looks at you for long. No one stares. In fact, it feels as though everyone here has agreed, without speaking, to keep the world gentle. The ferryman unhooks the rope. The ferry drifts back from the dock, and fog folds around you like a blanket. Hold on to the rail if you like, he says, or don't. The water's calm tonight. It always is, on this crossing. Where are we going, you ask, your voice soft in the mist. He tips his lantern toward the dark water. Forward, he says simply. Across to the market. It opens once a year and closes the moment it's done being needed. The ferry turns. The docklight fades away, swallowed by fog. Ahead, the water opens wide and black, reflecting the moon in its fractured silver. The ferryman raises his lantern. His eyes reflect the distant shimmer. Ah, he murmurs, there it is, the Starfall Market. As the ferry approaches, the glow grows clearer. The market is built along a crescent shore, its stalls tucked between dark pines and low stone walls dusted with frost. Lanterns hang everywhere, from branches, from posts, from invisible threads of light. And above it, the sky is different. Stars drift slowly, as if the heavens are breathing. And every so often, a small spark rises from the market, floating upward like an ember and becoming, unmistakably, a new star. You realize the ferryman was right. Here, the stars fall upward. The ferry glides into a sheltered inlet. The water is calmer, glassy and black, reflecting lanterns like a second world. A wooden ramp lowers with a soft clunk. As you step off, the air changes again. The shore smells of pine needles warmed by lantern heat. of sweet pastries cooling under cloth, of candied orange and toasted almonds, and somewhere deeper, wood smoke, the kind that clings to wool and hair after standing near a fire for a long time. A bell chimes softly as your boot meets the dock, not loud, not sharp, just a crystal note that seems to say, "Welcome." The ferryman doesn't follow you off. He remains on the deck, hands on the railing, watching the market as though it is a friend. "The ferry will be here," he calls gently, when the last lantern dims. "No rush, the market is patient." You nod, and with the book still in your hands, you step forward onto the cobbled path. The stones are smooth and cold beneath your boots, but not slippery. A thin dusting of glowing frost lies between them, like powdered sugar lit from within. The first stall you pass sells candles, not ordinary candles. These are tall, creamy pillars that burn with flames the color of sunrise. The vendor is not quite human. Their skin looks like pale wax, their hair like threads of smoke, and their eyes glow gently, amber orange. They smile, and the scent of beeswax deepens, rich and honeyed. Looking for warmth, they say, as if it is a simple thing to purchase. You don't answer, you simply breathe. The smell alone feels like a blanket. You move on. A stall draped in evergreen garlands offers jars of something that shimmers. When you lean closer, you see the jars contain tiny, slow-moving snowstorms, each one gentle, each one swirling in a different pattern, as if the snow remembers a specific night. A small creature stands behind the stall, round and furry, with antlers no longer than your fingers. It wears a scarf knitted from blue thread that seems to hold moonlight. It taps one jar with a tiny hoof. "This one," it says in a voice like a bell muffled by a wool, "is for forgetting the sharp parts of today." It taps another, "And this one is for remembering the soft parts of yesterday." The jars smell faintly of cold air and peppermint. You thank the creature with a nod and continue down the path. The market is laid out like a story itself, each turn offering a new page. To your left, a stall of pastries. To your right, a stall of carved wooden toys. Ahead, an archway made of woven branches, hung with tiny lights that blink slowly, like sleepy eyes. You pass a fire bowl where the flames don't crackle, they hum. The sound is low and steady, and when you stand near it, your chest feels lighter, as if the hum is soothing the inside of you. You notice other shoppers. They drift rather than hurry, wrapped in cloaks and scarves, faces calm, movements unhurried. Some are human, some are not. A tall, slender figure with skin like polished birch holds a cup of steaming cocoa. When it exhales, the breath looks like a silver mist. A pair of children, if they are children, run past, their feet barely touching the ground. leaving behind tiny prints that glow for a moment before fading like fireflies. No one bumps into anyone. No one raises a voice. Even laughter here is soft, like a smile you can hear. You keep walking, and as you walk, the scent of the market shifts. At first, it was sweets and smoke and pine. Now, woven through it, you catch hints of other things. Old paper, ink, leather, and the faint, comforting aroma of tea leaves. Your book grows warmer in your hands. It is leading you. The path curves toward a wider square, where lanterns hang higher and the cobbles are dusted with thicker frost. The first stall in the circle belongs to a baker. At least it smells like a baker. Fresh bread, butter, and something citrusy, like grated orange peel. The baker is a large, gentle creature, with hands dusted in flour. Its face is hidden behind a scarf and a hood, but its eyes are kind, dark and shining like warm coffee. On the counter lie loaves shaped like stars and small buns glazed with honey. Hungry, the baker asks. You aren't sure if you are, but the smell is so comforting that your body answers before your mind. The baker places a small roll into your hands. It is warm, astonishingly warm, as if it has just come from an oven. When you bring it close, steam rises, carrying the scent of cinnamon and butter. You take a bite, and it tastes like quiet mornings, like being safe, like having nowhere to go. You thank the baker, and the creature inclines its head, as if it understands everything you didn't say. You move on. The next stall is draped in velvet and evergreen and sells scarves. Not ordinary scarves. These are woven from things that can't be spun. Dusk, snowfall, the last light in a window. The vendor is a tall figure whose face is hidden behind a mask of carved wood. The mask is painted with a calm smile, and when the vendor speaks, their voice seems to come from everywhere at once, like wind moving through reeds. A scarf for warmth, they murmur, lifting one that smells of cedar and rain. A scarf for sleep, they murmur, lifting another that smells of lavender and old books. And a scarf for letting go, they murmur, lifting one that smells like the first breath after crying. Clean, empty, and gentle. You reach out and touch the lavender one. The fabric is impossibly soft. It feels like a blanket fresh from the dryer, still holding warmth. The vendor wraps it around your neck. There is no exchange of coins, only a nod. Keep it, they say. Travelers get cold, especially the ones who carry too much. You swallow softly. Your throat feels tight, but not with sadness, with relief. The scarf smells like sleep. You move inward again. The circle of stalls narrows. The lantern light becomes softer, dimmer, as if the market is guiding you towards this quiet heart. And now, the scent of old paper grows stronger. You look down at the book in your hands. The pages have changed. You didn't turn them, but the text is different now. And at the top of the open page, a title reads, "The fairy brings you to what you've been missing." You exhale, a slow, gentle breath, and you continue. At the inner ring of the market, the stalls are smaller, the vendors quieter, their goods stranger but softer. The first is a stall of jars again, but these jars do not hold snow. They hold sounds, tiny, captured soundscapes, swirling like smoke inside glass. A small creature with ears like moth wings stands behind the counter. When it speaks, it barely moves its mouth, as if it doesn't want to disturb the quiet. It taps one jar. Inside, you see faint ripples, and when you lean in, you can hear it, the sound of rain on a window. It taps another, a crackling fire. Another, footsteps in snow. And another, the slow turning of pages in a library. The creature holds out the jar with the page turning sound. When you take it, the glass is cool and it smells faintly of ink and cedarwood. "Good for later," the creature whispers. You nod and place it carefully into your coat pocket. It fits perfectly, as if your pocket was made for it. You move on. A stall of lights. Not bulbs, not candles. These are little glowing spheres, each one floating just above the counter, pulsing slowly like sleepy hearts. The vendor is an older being with skin the color of winter bark and hair like frost on branches. Their eyes are pale, almost white, but gentle. "These are evening lights," they say, voices soft as the falling snow. They don't wake you, they simply keep you company. One light drifts closer to you, hovering near your chest. It smells faintly of vanilla and pine. You reach out. It rests against your palm, warm and weightless. When you release it, it floats beside you, as if deciding to follow. You laugh quietly, just once, and even that laugh feels like a whisper. Now, you are walking deeper into the market, with a scarf of lavender, a jar of page sounds in your pocket, and a small evening light floating by your shoulder. The path narrows into an archway made of woven evergreen bows. As you pass beneath, the smell of pine intensifies, fresh and sharp, like stepping into a forest just after snow. Your breath tastes cleaner, your thoughts grow quieter. Beyond the archway, the market changes again. The lanterns here are fewer, the stalls are set farther apart. The air is warmer, as if a hearth burns somewhere close. And then you see it, a small pavilion, round and low, built of dark wood and draped in velvet curtains that sway without wind. A sign above it reads, in gold script, "The gift you don't have to earn." You stop. The floating light beside you pulses once, as if encouraging you. You take a step toward the pavilion. The curtains part without a sound, and inside, the market's heart waits. The pavilion is warmer than you'd expect. Not stifling, just comforting, like stepping into a room that has been kept ready. The floor is covered in thick rugs that swallow the sound of your footsteps. The air smells of spiced tea, beeswax, and something old and beloved. Leather-bound books, polished wood, and dried flowers pressed between pages. In the center is a table. On the table sits a single lantern, its flame steady and low. Behind the table is a figure seated in a chair that looks carved from the trunk of a tree. The figure wears a cloak of deep green pine. Their hands are folded. Their posture is calm. When they lift their head, you see their face. It is human, mostly, but their eyes reflect the light in a strange way, as if each iris contains a tiny, turning constellation. Welcome, they say. Their voice is deep, quiet, and warm, like a story told near a fire. You realize with a soft start that this is a keeper, like the lighthouse keeper, like the librarian, like the ones who watch over the places between dreams. I didn't mean to come, you admit softly. I was just reading. The keeper smiles. A good many people arrive that way, they say. Christmas Eve opens certain pages. They gesture toward the lantern. This is the lantern of the market, they explain. When it goes out, the stalls fold away and the fairy returns. But there is time yet. There is always just enough. You glance at the book in your hands. The keeper's gaze follows yours. May I? They ask. You step closer and set the book on the table. The keeper touches the cover with 2 fingers. The book responds with a soft silver glow that spreads along the edge. The keeper nods, satisfied. This book, they say, doesn't bring you to the market for fun. Their eyes soften. It brings you for gentleness, for a small correction, a quiet rebalancing. They open the book. The pages flutter, and the scent rises again. Pine and paper and sweet spice. The keeper turns to a blank page, or what looks blank at first. Then slowly, words appear like frost forming on glass. Not a paragraph, not a chapter, just a single line. Tonight, you may set down what you've been carrying. Your throat tightens again, your shoulders drop, and for a moment, you feel the weight of the whole season, the busy, shining, demanding part of it, slip a little farther away. The keeper looks up. What have you been carrying? They ask, not prying, simply offering the question like a cup of tea. You open your mouth and realize you don't have to answer out loud. The keeper nods, as if hearing you anyway. Then we'll do it quietly, they say. They reach beneath the table and draw out a small object, a pouch made of soft cloth, tied with a silver string. They place it in front of you. This is a wishing pouch, the keeper explains, not for making wishes, for releasing them, for letting the ones that have become heavy return to the night. They untie the string. The pouch opens. A faint, cool scent rises from inside, like clean snow, like empty air, like the quiet after a long day ends. Place it in, the keeper says gently, whatever you no longer need to hold tonight. You hover your hands over the open pouch and close your eyes. And though you place nothing physical inside, you feel something shift. A tension loosens. A thought unhooks. The floating light beside you dims slightly, as if settling into sleep. The keeper ties the pouch closed. Good, they murmur. Now, one more gift. The market's oldest tradition. They lift the lantern. Its flames glow a little brighter, casting warm light across the pavilion. On Christmas Eve, the keeper says, every traveler gets one page, a page they can keep, not to read, but to rest under. They tear a single page gently from the book. The paper does not protest. It releases the page as if it has always known. The keeper folds the page once, twice, until it becomes a small square. They place it into your palm. It is warm. When you bring it close, it smells like lavender and pine, like tea and paper, like home. Keep it, the keeper says. When you return, you won't remember every stall. You don't need to, but the page will remember you and help you find your way back to sleep. You nod. Your eyelids feel heavier. The keeper sets the lantern down again. The flame lowers, but does not go out. Outside, you hear a soft, distant chime, the market sound of closing. The keeper voices a murmur now. It's time, they say. The ferry is waiting. You step out, and the market is changing. Lanterns are dimming one by one, their light folding inward like flowers closing at dusk. Stalls draw their curtains. Vendors move slowly, unhurried, as if packing up a dream. The air is still full of scent, pine, smoke, and spice. But it is softening, as though the market is exhaling. Your scarf sits warm around your neck. The small page rests in your pocket, against your chest, like a hand placed there gently. The floating evening light beside you drifts a little lower, hovering near your shoulder like a sleepy companion. You walk back through the archway of evergreen. The path feels shorter now, as if the market is folding distance for you. At the shore, the ferry waits. Fog curls around its sides. The ferryman stands at the rail, lantern raised. When he sees you, he nods. Find what you needed, he asks. You don't answer with words. You simply exhale, and that seems to be enough. You step onto the ferry. The deck is warm beneath your boots now, as if it has been holding heat for returning travelers. You find a bench. The silver-haired woman has finished a row of knitting and is winding her yarn with slow, practiced fingers. The fox-like creature has curled up, sheet music tucked under its arm like a blanket. The tiny figures are still asleep, their sparkling breaths rising and dissolving. The ferryman loosens the rope, and the ferry glides away from the shore. Behind you, the Starfall Market dims, its lights fading into a low constellation on the land, and above it, the stars continue to rise, slowly, gently, as if the market is placing them back where they belong. The water is calmer than before. The hum of the ferry deepens, steady and soothing. You reach into your pocket and touch the folded page. Warm. You open it just a little, just enough to see one line printed there, as if it has been waiting. You are safe. You are warm, and you may sleep. You smile, your eyelids lower. The ferryman's voice reaches you from the front, faint through the fog. Almost there, he says, the same way a conductor might. Not a destination in space, a destination in softness. The fog thickens. The lantern light turns the mist into gold. The world narrows into warmth and sound. Water, wood, humming. And slowly, without any effort, you feel yourself returning. The first thing you notice is the weight of the blankets, then the softness beneath you, then faintly the scent of your room. Candle wax, cool tea, a trace of cinnamon. You open your eyes. You are home. The lamp glows low beside you. The book rests open on your lap, as though it's never moved. But when you breathe in, there's something new in the air. Pine and lavender and the faint sweetness of sugared almonds. You touch your neck. The scarf is there. You smile, slow and sleepy. Outside, the night is still. Christmas Eve continues quietly, holding its breath. You close the book gently. The cover feels warm under your palm. And for a moment, you think you hear, very faintly, the ferry's deep, contented hum, far away on a sea made of dreams. You settle deep into your blankets. Your hands find the small folded page in your pocket. You hold it lightly, not to read, just to know it's there. And as your breathing slows, and your thoughts drift farther apart, the world grows softer, slower, calmer, because tonight you have crossed the water, you have walked the market, you have been given a gift you didn't have to earn, and now there is nothing left to do but sleep. So sleep well, my dear wanderer, until the next story meets you once more.